Before William Penn's province was 10 years old, the southern part of it grew restless. The citizens of the 3 lower counties on the Delaware wanted to be independent of Pennsylvania.
When you get to Philadelphia, be forceful. Make them realize this petition is a serious document.
Well, I'll try.
Make William Penn's governor listen to you.
What can I do but try?
Yes, try.
Throughout the last part of the 17th century, Delaware was searching for her true identity. The 18th century was well along before she found it. By the 1680s, Delaware already had a colorful past. Nationalities were mixed: Dutch, Swedish, English. Religions were mixed: Quaker, Anglican, Amish. Yet the people of Delaware felt united. They felt they should be a separate colony.
We should at least be allowed to govern ourselves. Pennsylvania draws all our trade and people away, and
Pennsylvania rules us. If something is not done, Delaware will never have any separate importance.
Why, Philadelphia alone causes Delaware to be overlooked. William Penn is a fair man.
At this time, William Penn is a worried man.
William Penn had come to his colony in 1682, a happy, hopeful man. 2 years later, he was still hopeful, but he was indeed worried.
His Majesty is troubled by reports of piracy along the Delaware.
At least one of his distressing problems concerned the 3 lower counties on the Delaware. European wars had led to increasing acts of international piracy along the American seaboard, and quite a few privateers considered the Delaware coast their private hunting ground. The unarmed merchant ships sailing toward Philadelphia were in constant danger of attack. Unarmed towns like Lewis were often and without warning invaded and looted. The streams and inlets of Delaware provided cozy hiding places for the privateers. Rumors reached England that the people of Delaware were sheltering the privateers and trading with them. There was some truth in this. The people of Lewis found it more sensible to trade with these invaders than be robbed by them. However, England took a dim view of the situation, and England held William Penn responsible. The settlers claimed that Penn would not protect them from the privateers. To Penn, the request of the 3 lower counties to be separated from Pennsylvania was the troublesome complaint of a little piece of land that was important only because it traded with privateers. Penn had bigger problems on his mind. England held real control over his colony. Unrest in England could well mean difficulties for Pennsylvania and Delaware. And there was trouble in England. In August 1684, William Penn sailed back to London. He found confusion and suspicion there. His friend, King James II, the former Duke of York, had been removed from power and replaced as king by William of Orange, who was afraid to trust William Penn. The new king was afraid that Penn had plans for restoring James to the English throne. Penn protested his innocence, but from the spring until November of 1689, William Penn was put in an English prison on suspicion of plotting against the English royalty.
Is there no way to get word to the king? I am and always have been a loyal subject of the crown. I have no plot. Please, I have an American colony to administer. Pennsylvania, you must realize my responsibilities. The colony, my family. I cannot sit idle in the Tower of London.
I only follow orders.
Oh, Lord, help me.
In 1692, Penn had to appoint separate governors to rule the restless 3 lower counties. Even after his release from prison, Penn could not convince King William of his loyalty. In 1692, the king, still untrusting, took Pennsylvania and the 3 lower counties away from Penn. As a reason for his action, he used the excuse that the peaceful Pennsylvania Quakers had refused to supply soldiers to the British military. William Penn was crushed. He had poured most of his money and all of his heart into his American province. Now his holy experiment was no longer his. Pennsylvania and Delaware were put under the control of the governor of New York. To add to Penn's sorrows, his wife died in 1694. Fighting off his grief, he increased his efforts to get his colony back. And in that same year, 1694, his colony came back to life.
Citizens of the province of Pennsylvania and the 3 lower counties, every capable man among you is required to give service in the army of His Majesty, William, King of England, by order of the proprietor, William Penn.
By promising to furnish soldiers for the king's army, Pennsylvania and the 3 lower counties were restored to Penn. But his colony, from which those soldiers would come, was displeased at the price it would have to pay to have William Penn back. Pennsylvanians and Delawareans did not want to fight in the king's army. In addition, the citizens of Delaware were not satisfied to have a separate governor appointed by Penn. They wanted to govern their own land.
We have waited for 2 years. Will we be tied to Pennsylvania for all time?
I was sure William Penn would treat us fairly, but he has no time for us.
We will make him have time for us. Sooner or later, Penn will be forced to grant us independence.
In 1699, 15 years after he left America, Penn returned with his second wife. He came to govern his province himself. He was no longer a rich man. He was no longer a young man. And he came back to still more problems.
This is all so beautiful. And Philadelphia was all I ever hoped it would be. I had almost forgotten. But seeing it again has made me forget everything else. It is so very good to be back. Everything that has happened has been God's will. And this makes it all worthwhile. Even my misfortunes. Tell me, my friend, what is the financial situation here in Pennsylvania? I have heard conflicting reports.
Mr. Penn, let us talk of business matters later. Why don't we go down to dinner?
The people Penn had invited to his province refused to pay rent on their land, and those who were in debt to Penn would not repay him. Penn realized that his personal fortune was gone, and he had no way to get it back. He went to his people, the Quakers of Philadelphia, requesting a loan. They turned him down. To make matters worse, the citizens of his province would not pay to support their own government. And Delaware, the 3 lower counties, refused to contribute to William Penn's support. The Delawareans were determined people.
It grieves me that you have turned against me.
We have nothing against you as a man, Mr. Penn. It is simply that the 3 lower counties are chained to Pennsylvania, and this we do not like.
But I have always acted in your best interests.
You must let us become a separate colony.
But you are part of Pennsylvania.
We are not. Delaware is a separate territory, but we will become a colony in our own right, Mr. Penn, sooner or later.
But Penn had so many problems. This was only one of them. When Penn had lived in England, the Anglican Church had caused him a good deal of trouble. Now the Anglicans threatened to take control of Pennsylvania. The Anglicans gained such strength that they were a danger to the Quakers. Religion was threatening to split the holy experiment. William Penn was a desperate man. The place he had designed for religious freedom had become a place for religious argument. And the southern part of his colony was straining to be free. He had no money and little business sense, and he still felt shaky about his ownership of Pennsylvania and Delaware. And Delaware kept on waiting. The King of England informed William Penn that he wanted a large sum of money from Pennsylvania and the 3 lower counties. The purpose? To defend the New York border against possible attack by France.
This is impossible, sir. The king wants more money. More, when I have none. Do you know what this means? The provincial assembly must meet.
Governor Penn, this request is outrageous.
You do not understand.
Pennsylvania will give no more money.
Please, I beg you.
Our regrets, Mr. Penn.
Mr. Penn, I represent the 3 lower counties on the Delaware.
I am familiar with your problems.
And we with yours, sir. We would like to help you, but our cooperation has a price.
That price?
Independence from Pennsylvania, Mr. Penn.
In order to get the money he had to have, Penn was forced to promise Delaware its freedom within 3 years' time. In November 1701, William Penn sailed for London, again to fight for ownership of his province. He left a disturbed Pennsylvania and a joyful Delaware. He never went back. Defeated, unable to pay his debts, William Penn was put in debtor's prison. He was released 9 months later, humiliated, his health destroyed. And by 1718, after a series of illnesses, William Penn died. He was 73 years old. Earlier in 1704, as promised, Delaware was given independence from Pennsylvania. Delaware became a separate colony. Its governors were appointed by Pennsylvania, but it had a separate assembly which met and governed in Newcastle. Although the 3 lower counties had no official name as yet, together they were considered a separate individual colony of the Crown. They governed themselves. They could be grateful to William Penn. They had loved him, and they had fought him. He had given his dreams, his wealth, his life to the holy experiment. His vision of religious freedom in a peaceful colony had become a reality. And under William Penn, Delaware had gone from 3 counties to a colony. It made a better colony because he had been there.